Kyle aboard with us this morning. It is Tuesday. We're going to talk a little bit about gout. And we're going to get sets information on gout and things that you can eat and things that you shouldn't eat or should eat or whatever the case might be. We'll find out. We bring him in via Zoom.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. What going on?
Stephen Reese,
nice man.
Synergy TV and all of our viewers.
Lovely.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about gout.
Gout. All right.
Of course, to understand gout, one has to look at uric acid and get an understanding of that.
Right.
But before we speak on that, you have to look back to gout was first mentioned or known back in the times of the Egyptians since BC 2640. All right. And from back then,
you're going way back, boy. Back in the time.
Well, you want to understand, when these things first came about or when it was first observed or documented.
Okay, go ahead.
And it was known as a rich person illness. In fact, in more recent old history, when I say recent, like the 16th century and so forth, all right, in a sense, it was a sign of status, having gout, right?
Serious?
Because it was associated with the wealthy. It's predominantly something that was associated with men. Because of the lavish lifestyles the wealthy would partake in, which involved a lot of heavy drinking. So it had a lot of alcohol consumption. And I don't know if I mentioned in the past, but in the past, sugar was also something that was quite expensive and was something usually only enjoyed by the rich, by the wealthy.
Okay.
Right? Keep in mind, alcohol is basically fermented sugar. All right? Now, women started getting gout as well. It started becoming more prevalent among women when women started to participate in the same lavish lifestyles of the men back in those days. So there is a trend that is being seen here with a lot of drinking and sugar consumption.
Right.
Now, with regards to uric acid now, because uric acid is what builds up within the joints to cause these crystals. As some scientists would describe it, it looks like if you take horse hair and you cut up horsehair very fine, right? So like 1/6 of an inch, that is what it looks like under a microscope.
Okay.
All right? So these populate the joints and causes extreme pain that's equivalent to pain of a dislocation, right? So if you dislocate a joint. So sometimes clothes, just wearing clothes and all, could be enough to cause severe pain that you can't even bear the extra weight of clothing, right? That's how bad it can be.
Wow.
All right? So it was enough to influence politics in history. It was enough to influence art in history. Because a lot of artwork have been drawn with reference to gout throughout history, 17th century and so forth. So it was something that was actually one of the first documented diseases, right? So it goes back. Now, understanding uric acid, right, we have to understand what produces uric acid. So the breaking down of purines is what causes the production of uric acid. It is produced mostly by the liver, right, but you can get in the lungs and endothelial tissue or whatnot. All right?
Right.
So, but mostly the liver is the main producer of it. And purines, which people need to understand, is in all DNA and RNA. So every cell in the human body, outside of red blood cells, mature red blood cells, contain purines.
Okay.
Now, when cells break down, of course, to break down a cell, the walls have to be broken down and the contents of it let out. So this is where you get the metabolism of purines, and that is what's going to form the uric acid during that metabolic process. Now, I mentioned the other day when a caller asked about it, I mentioned that the majority of purines, that is, or uric acid that is produced in the body, comes from your own body. In fact, 2/3 of all uric acid is produced by your own body.
Right. So the body produces that, yeah.
Yeah, 1/3 would come from stuff that you consume. All right. Now, I find it a bit, I would say, reckless when red meat is blamed for gout. It is reckless. One of the reasons why I'll say that is fructose also produces uric acid. The metabolic process of fructose causes the production of uric acid. All right, now we need to understand that. There's another thing that we need to understand is that fructose is non-essential. There is no essential purpose for consuming fructose. Meaning,
So
you have...
When we say fructose, we're
Fructose
talking about like
is-
honey. Honey is a fructose.
Right. Honey is a sucrose, but
A
it has
sucrose.
fructose. Because sucrose is a disaccharide sugar. Right? It's usually 50% glucose, 50% fructose. All right. In fact, the sugar in most fruits is sucrose, which is usually 50% glucose, 50% fructose, or a percentage of those two. Right?
Okay.
It might fluctuate a little between them, but that is basically what it is. So you do get in fructose from fruits as well.
Okay.
But fructose has no essential life without it, and there is no harm that could come to the human body from it.
Okay.
Consuming it, on the other hand, can cause harm.
All right.
All right? Consuming it, on the other hand, can definitely cause harm. And fructose converts into uric acid. Now, amino acids is essential for life. Without it, you die. Right? Now, the number one source of amino acid, the best source of getting in all the complete amino acids, is red meat.
Okay.
If red meat is your number one source for the complete or all the essential 9 amino acids, then blaming red meat as a cause for uric acid buildup that results in gout or gouty
Yeah,
arthritis
makes no sense.
would be reckless,
Okay.
right? That is like saying dihydrogen monoxide, which is responsible for over 320,000 documented deaths per year, and there's many cases of deaths from that, goes underreported, so it could be a lot higher. That could lead people to conclude that we should avoid dihydrogen monoxide at all costs. But Stefan, if I say dihydrogen monoxide in the simple form, you know what it is?
What is it?
Dihydrogen monoxide, that's H2O.
Okay.
That's water.
Water, yeah.
That's the chemical name. That's how you would read out H2O.
Right.
Over 320,000 people every year die from drowning. So should we then try not to consume or utilize water?
Right.
Because water kills a lot of people every year? No. So
Right.
it would be reckless to take something essential, and just because people die from something contributing to it and not looking at the other factors that are involved with it, it is extremely reckless to blame just simply based on a correlation,
Okay.
right? So not because red meat has purines in it means that you need to avoid red meat.
Right, because the body
Because
already
if you
produces
look
purine.
at every single thing that has purines, fruits have purines in it, legumes have purines in it, practically almost everything that has protein in it has purines in it.
Right.
It would be completely reckless and foolish to therefore blame stuff like that without understanding the other circumstances around it. Now, you talk to average physiotherapist, right? Or, let me say a knowledgeable physiotherapist. And, of course, just observing conditions in Trinidad and Tobago. Like a couple years ago, I did a segment on sarcopenia, which has to do with weight loss.
Weight loss, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Muscle loss,
Yeah.
right? And that takes place a lot, especially in the elderly, which is all nutritional. You can't fix that with medication or whatnot. It is nutritional. I did read through the perspective on a vegan diet in senior citizens, and they recommended, or they say they cannot conclude that senior citizens should be on a vegan diet because of the impact it have on muscle protein synthesis. You cannot get all the essential amino acids from plants, and due to other compounds found in them, it affects and hinders the absorption of proteins. So in general, the general population has a deficiency in proteins, has a deficiency in amino acid. How much sense does it make to cut off your best source, your best source of amino acid, all because you assume that since uric acid is caused from purines, therefore gout is caused from red meat.
From red meat, yeah, okay.
Right? That is very reckless. So now a lot of people, let me go and show it this way. From the 1800s, sugar consumption was around, in the 1800s, 5 kg per person per year.
Okay.
Today that has increased to around 80 kg per person per year. That is a dramatic increase in sugar consumption. From the 1960s to now, red meat consumption has decreased, right? Decreased, right? In reference to throughout history, our red meat consumption has decreased, Stefan. Not increased, decreased.
Decreased, yeah.
So if we have a decrease in red meat consumption, why are we still blaming that when sugar consumption has dramatically increased? Dramatically increased.
Right.
Our focus is on the wrong thing because most people just look
Diabetes
on broad.
diabetes has increased as well.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Diabetes has tremendous. In fact, all diseases across the board, Stefan, all the diseases has dramatically increased. Cancers, cardiovascular disease, all these things.
Right.
And practically all of them is associated with sugar consumption.
Sugar consumption, yeah.
If amino acids is essential for building and repairing tissue in the body, and red meat is your #1 source, right, of it, most effective, most efficient, complete source, and with zinc and iron and so forth, and coming with all the essential nutrients for the body, how is cutting that going to reduce gout? Now let me explain something else now. There are 2 ways in which you can get additional purines that could cause production of uric acid that can result in gout. And as I mentioned, you have the exogenous means, which is from what you consume, which makes up 1/3, and you have the endogenous means, which is what the body naturally produces. So an increase in exogenous consumption, that is one way, and also an increase in endogenous production.
Right.
Now, if you are under consuming proteins, your amino acids, it means your body cannot maintain tissue as it should. And therefore, you're going to increase the breakdown of tissue through apoptosis and autophagy. Right? If you have an increase in tissue breakdown, you automatically have an increase in purine release and an increase in purine metabolism.
Right.
That increase now is going to increase your uric acid concentration in your blood serum levels.
Okay.
Right? Now, with the increase of sugar, we also know that sugar affects your kidneys. Right? We know that. Diabetes causes and could lead to renal failure and whatnot, which would affect your body's ability to eliminate uric acid. Right? Which means you're going to have more uric acid remaining in your body and therefore going to accumulate at the joints and increase the risk of you developing gout. Or gouty arthritis.
So in other words, Seth, before we run out of time here, in other words, like with any disease, right, that one would, get over time if they were to get any particular disease or whatever. In this case, gout. It is not based on any one thing, but a combination of things.
Combination of stuff.
Right. That has because each substance has a different effect on the body, right? So, but one I remember you said a while back in one of these segments, you said that there are things that you consume that block other things from happening.
Correct.
So if I am to eat this and I'm looking for certain benefits from, let's say, a piece of chicken, there are other things that I will consume that blocks what the benefits of the
absorption of nutrients that come in from the chicken.
Right.
And there are even things like I mentioned before, protease inhibitors that even blocks the body's ability from being able to utilize the protein.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So even you could be eating protein, and based on what you eat it with, it blocks the production or the release of trypsin and chymotrypsin, which are the enzymes
it's counterproductive,
that are released in your digestive system, your small intestines, to metabolize or break down and absorb the protein.
Right.
So we cannot go about blaming protein when the average person has a protein deficiency.
Yeah.
Right? So that cannot be the cause of gout. And this is why I say, and this is why I did this segment the other day when it comes to medical doctors and their nutritional training, right? It is very, very limited. Stefan, it is severely lacking. Because 25 hours is not enough and they're not even getting that. Okay. Some schools, they get 80 minutes, right? On average, total worldwide is 11.5 hours. 11.5 hours, a basic computer literacy course is longer than that.
Right.
Right? But here it is, they are to guide people with regards to their health, and that's all the knowledge, or that's all the training that they get with regards to nutritional knowledge, right? There are many factors involved, and just simply looking at simple correlations. All right, red meat have purines convert into uric acid, and uric acid in excess causes gout. All right, cut everything that have purines in it.
Yeah.
That is reckless, because then what people are going to need, Stefan?
Well, true.
They're going to need.
True.
Right? So, but they just eat, what we call it? Nothing chops, right?
And win pies.
And win pies. Nothing chops and win pies. Better we just do that, sit and meditate whole day and hope for the best.
But I think
that makes literally no sense.
Well, I think as we are out of time here, I think what you just explained there is exactly what you do in your consultations to a greater extent, because I mean, you went as far back as, what was it, the Egyptians?
The Egyptians, yeah.
You went as far back as the Egyptians, and you gave an entire history moving forward. And then you got into little parts of it as to why you don't make these simple correlations, that you have to look a little deeper than that and, dissect the problem and to find the solution. And not only to find the solution, but to get the patient to understand, or the person to understand, this is why I recommend this, or this is why. Because it's, like you say, it's a re-education of nutrition.
And the program I have in place is a coaching program, because diet have to be coached. You don't just leave people to see about their diet on their own after they have had decades of misinformation. So people's diets need to be coached, need to be guided. You need to get regular. Because my programs is daily feedback I require. Daily feedback. I have to get daily feedback to help you, because remember, you have to do something repeatedly for it to become habitual and instinctual. Right? And that is how I get people to reverse their diseases and illnesses, right? When it comes to case, I've had people with gout and it gone, right? I don't manage disease, and this is what I've been saying. I am not in the business of managing diseases. I am in the business of reversing it. Why manage something when you can reverse it? Right? To me, that makes no sense.
All right.
Why have a disease and have it dragging out years upon years upon years? Reverse it, it can be reversed. All diseases can be reversed.
Yeah.
Right? And we need to understand that.
It's just a matter of sticking with the program, one, and two, not waiting till you're on the final lap going down the home stretch.
Exactly.
To try and reverse it.
That's when some people come to me when the doctors send them home be comfortable as you're on your last.
I'm not saying I could do for you now, and then they're looking for,
Then they're looking to talk, right?
So, I mean, there are a few things that come with it, but for those of you, you want more information and you need to contact Seth, you could do so by calling him on 761-1952, 761-1952, or 279-3935. Those are the numbers you will get him on. Seth, thanks a lot for the time, and thanks a lot for the education on gout, man.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, cool. So, thanks a lot.